Welcome to this virtual event, a celebration of my recent album, We Go On, Kahn's Songs of Hope in Hard Times. I'm really excited about this event. You're going to get to hear Cy and me talk about the songs, some of the stories behind the songs, the stories behind the arrangements that I chose. You're also going to get to hear live performances as well as excerpts from the album itself. Also, in this YouTube live event, almost all the musicians who worked on this project will be in the chat, as well as both of the recording engineers. So if you have questions about the music or the recording process, please fire away in the chat. I'll make sure that everybody knows who contributed what, so please ask questions. We'll be excited to hear from you. For anyone who wasn't able to participate in this live event, I will archive this video on my YouTube site as well as on my website, so you can catch it again later if you'd like, or share it with your friends who weren't able to join us. All of the music from this album is available for streaming on any streaming device that you use, so please look it up, please listen, add it to playlists. I would appreciate that support. Of course, if you'd like a CD, please contact me directly. If you don't have my email, you can find me on my website, katieoates.com, and just click the contact page. Thank you and enjoy. I did want to start out talking about a little bit about how this project came to be. And I remember particularly hearing about you talking about a living archive and all of these artists who were recording things for you. And it's a very generous way to think about your life's works. I think that your life work can be held in the hands and the artistry of other people, and I think that's beautiful. And I wanted to be a part of that. I remember hearing we would meet, and you'd be mentoring me, and you were talking about so and so is doing this project, and I think I finally said, "Well, Cy, what about me doing some of your songs? How would that be?" And and I knew that one of the first songs I wanted to record was going to be Luray Women, even though we were talking about about me doing some of your unrecorded songs, but that song is so beautiful, and I think it fits into this whole theme of really your life being part of a thread that connects back to so many people, whether it's your family or the stories that you tell that then connect us to current day. And I think Luray Women does that so beautifully.
Well, thank you, and you did a beautiful job with it. Do you want to hear the story behind it?
Yes, I do want to hear the story behind it.
Right.
Love this story.
So, I am married to Elizabeth Minnick. She has been my best friend since the 11th grade. She has been my beloved partner and spouse for over 40 years. And part of her family comes from the Appalachian Mountains, from the town of Luray, Virginia. So I was working in my office. Elizabeth was working in her office. And she started in, I guess, to come see me. And as she went through the bathroom, she turned to face the mirror and suddenly startled. And she came in and her face was kind of drained white, and she was leaning against the door. This is a very strong, tough woman. And as you know, and I said, "What happened?" She said, "I looked in the mirror and I saw my great-grandmother." So Elizabeth, started talking about her great aunt and her great grandmother. At one point I said, "Maybe you'd like to have a song about them." She said, "Yeah, I'd like that very much." So I took out my guitar, went into her office, which also had the bed where we slept. And I sat on the bed and I said, "So start telling me stories about them." And as she told me the stories, I wrote the song. It strikes me in this moment that the song is a living archive to these two people that Elizabeth loved so much, that helped raise her, that are so much a part of her. So I mean, that's a way of keeping them alive. We've created a living tribute to Elizabeth's great-grandmother and great-aunt. You're classically trained. You've sung jazz, you've sung gospel. So I knew that you would do something very different with every one of the songs. And that's exactly, aside from our long friendship, and aside from the thing that, you really are a wonderful performer, I knew you'd transform the songs into something very different from what I did. And that's the joy for me.
I have
very much enjoyed writing my own songs in the last 10 years and performing those. But there's kind of a different part of my brain that I use when I interpret someone else's works. And I love that too. And it's been just a joy to do, because I love, learning from your songwriting too, to be able to, in just one turn of a few words, that when great grandma Nanny comes onto the porch, she's underneath her plain white apron, holds my future in her hands. So within a few words, you've told us that the connection that you have. The other thing I wanted to mention about that song is the metaphor of women as trees. It's such a beautiful image, and that has strength to it. It has passing through time, that something that just becomes a part of your landscape, but then also can, in fact, at some point disappear and come down. So
yeah, looking back at it, I'm pleased that the ending circles back to the beginning. So she's tall as timber in the beginning, and then in the last verse it says, "If you find the one who loves you, if you love the one you find, be like sisters on the mountain." And they are sisters on the mountain, branches touching, roots entwined. And I didn't realize I'd done that for years. And I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. It completes the circle. So yeah. And I'm so glad, because I mean, this song is so important to our family. And thanks for putting it into the living archive.
Let's just take a moment and listen to the song.
Tall as timber, great as Lizzie, wrapped in rugs against the cold, looking out across the mountain to the valleys of my soul. On the porch where Lizzie's rocking, great grandma Nanny comes and stands underneath her plain white apron, holds my future in her hands. Lurie women, how you're with me, soft as memory, strong as wood. In my face, you are returning. Hear you sing it in my blood. How the years and all my memories flow like water by the bridge. I can see them in my mirror, tall as trees along the ridge, just like trees along the mountain, through the years grown straight and tall, till the place where they've been standing seems deserted when they fall. Lurie women, how you're with me, soft as memory, strong as wood. In my face, you are returning. Hear you sing it in my blood. If you lose the one who loves you, make a life that's all your own. find a place where no one can reach you. Turn your back and go back home. But if you find the one who loves you, if you love the one you find, be like sisters on the mountain, branches touching, roots entwined. Glory women, how you're with me, soft as memory, strong as wood. In my face, you are returning. Hear you sing it in my blood.
While we're on the subject of family, I wanted to talk about the collaboration with your son, because the next song I want to play is Bury Me on Beale Street. And I think I might play the version from the album.
Oh, no, of course you have to play the version from the album.
Yeah, just an excerpt of it. But tell me.
Although at some point, because you did such a fascinating reinterpretation.
Yes.
Including the chord structure, and you'll talk about that. It might be interesting to play just a snatch of the other one, so people can see about the transformative power that you're using for all of these songs.
I love this song. When I first heard it, I thought, oh my goodness, Cy is rapping. He's like doing this whole spoken word thing, and then you had this really cool way that you ended the song, and I thought, this is the best song, but I cannot do this electronic thing that Gabe knows so well, and I just couldn't find my way into it. And I was just sitting with it. I've been listening to it over and over, and all of a sudden, B.B. King, because you talk about B.B. King blues in it at one point, and I thought, wait a minute, B.B. King, and I went and I listened to The Thrill Is Gone. And all of a sudden I was like, of course, because Gabe is using kind of a descending a hook on his song that he repeats over and over. And B.B. King uses a hook all through his song that also descends. And so
that's very cool.
So I just adapted it.
So Gabe is one of our sons. He's our youngest. And he spent his, when he was like, 10 or 11, he got really heavily into doing hip hop, creating raps. He spent his life as a hip hop artist, producer, and I don't know, about 20 years ago, he says, hey, Pops, if I created some beats, would you want to write lyrics to them? And I said, yeah, I would love to do that. And he sent me, I think it was a cassette tape. And I listened to the beat and I thought, oh, I can do this.
It's wonderful. And I think it's going to be a favorite on the CD, actually. I can identify with this unknown singer who then is coming to grips with that and thinks, okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And, one among the things I like about the song is I think I caught the feistiness, the toughness of, this is an African-American singer. She's a blues singer in Memphis. She had a hard life.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a star. She's got to struggle through, but she's kept her spirit and, a spirit of, don't you tell me what to do.
It's wonderful. Got humor and sass, and it's got the whole package. And I'm not going to play the whole song, so people are going to have to either buy a CD, which they can get from me directly from my website, or they can stream it on any of the services.
I in some lonesome graveyard. Don't dig my hole on the mountain where the ground is stony hard. Lay me down among my friends where the music plays so sweet, echoing from dusk to dawn. Bury me on Beale Street. Ooh. Won't you tell that undertaker, drape me in my wedding dress, get my old jewels out of hock so I'm sure to look my best. Won't I be a sight to look on, dressed in white from head to feet, like some shining fallen angel? Bury me on Beale Street. Ooh.
Let's go on to the next song I want to feature. And this was one of the lessons that you taught me when you were mentoring, and you said, always put a love song on your CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because so many people think of you as, very serious writer, always, got a cause. And you do. But
I think that to be a political musician, and I am a political musician, but to me, it means that you write and sing about the whole of life, about everything in it. Not just the political moments, but, birth and love and community and family and the funny things that happen as we go through life, right? One time somebody said to me very seriously, looking me straight in the eyes, "You, Cy, are a very serious political musician." And I said, "Hey, thanks so much. You are talking to the man who wrote Rubber Blubber Whale."
That's what I love.
I rest my case.
Exactly. Well, this is a fun one to play. So.
Here we go. Some people know presidents, some people know queens, some people talk to friends no one else has ever seen. Some people know Elvis, yeah, they think it's true. I don't know nobody, but I know you. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know you. You're my heart of hearts, you're my truest true. Everybody's talking about who knows who. I don't know nobody, but I know you. Everybody's talking about who's been where, with whosoeverbody else, but I don't care. Put them right in front of me, I see right through. Don't need no celebrities, 'cause I know you. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know you. You're my heart of hearts, you're my truest true. Everybody's talking about who knows who. Well, I don't know nobody, but I know you well. Everybody's wondering about the final day. Will they rise to glory or just fade away? You won't catch me wondering what I'm gonna do. I got immortality 'cause I know you. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know you. You're my heart of hearts, you're my truest true. Everybody's talking about who knows who. Well, I don't know nobody, but I know you. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know you. You're my heart of hearts, you're my truest true. Everybody's talking about who knows who. Well, I don't know nobody, but I know you. Yeah, I don't know nobody, but I know you. Oh, yeah.
The next song, I want to go is Mississippi Summer. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your time in Arkansas. And I don't know if I'll put it on here, but I may play the live version in which I talk about getting the story, getting the introduction wrong, because I was telling people about how you spent time in Mississippi, and then therefore this song came about. And one time you saw me performing it live and took me aside later and said, yeah, Katie, I wasn't in Mississippi. I was in Arkansas. So, well, why'd you say Mississippi? Yeah.
Well, because it's really hard to get Arkansas into a line. I mean, Mississippi is such a great word to say,
Yes.
you know?
The sibilance of that S.
The sibilance, yeah.
I rest on a lot in that song to give it that sense of Venice. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. No, okay, so I am now in my 56th year as a civil rights union and community organizer. But I started in the Southern Civil Rights Movement back in 1965, and I worked with an organization called SNCC. The initials are SNCC, and they stood for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I wanted to go south so badly. I just wanted to go south and be a part of SNCC. That was the organization that I did the support work for. And my parents were like, no, we're not going to allow you to go south. You'll get killed.
Yeah.
And I thought they were being really foolish, now at almost 80 with 3 children and 3 grandchildren. I think maybe they had a point. And of course, people did get killed. And Katie, I don't know quite how to explain this, but I believe that I didn't want to go against them. I don't think I could go against them. But like a couple of days after I turned 21, I thought, no, now I have a right to go. And I went. I went to Forest City, Arkansas. It was a mean town. Well, the white people were, many of them were mean. Not all. Some were helpful, quietly. In Arkansas, in the summer of 1965, I discovered organizing, and I discovered civil rights and working for justice. And I realized, I didn't even know that people did that kind of work. I had no idea that there were people who spend part of their lives, their whole lives, helping other people stand up for themselves, helping build organizations and, assist in building campaigns for justice. And I just loved it. I still love it. And I realized, no, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. I sometimes say to myself, sometimes to other people, in a certain sense for me, it's always 1965. It's always SNCC. It's always Forest City, Arkansas. That is the profoundly wonderful turning point in my life.
When you think about what kind of song might come out of an effort of a time like that, a lot of people would expect a song that has, big messages and big, proclamations about, but what you capture so well, I think, is the sense of menace and
exactly.
the pressure of conforming, for everybody to conform, especially in the South. You don't talk about anything bad. You don't talk about your family's problems. You don't talk about societal's problems. Everybody puts on the happy face, the happy front, but underneath there's so much churn and unhappiness and danger, real danger that continues for Black Americans in our country, and it's
absolutely
horrific. And I have come to understand that some of the enemy of change is this repressive, conform, don't say anything, let the menace lie underneath, hidden away. And I think
that's really
what
well
moves
said.
me so much about this song.
Yeah, it's really well said, and it's completely true. And of course, as a civil rights worker, I spent my time terrified, absolutely terrified. It's interesting talking to you like this, because I go back and I think about, I hear what Katie says. Where is that in the song? And that part of the world is so flat
Yes.
that you can see, and there's actually a vanishing point where the cotton plants just converge and disappear, you know? And so but I could have said the rows are as straight as a highway, the rows are as straight as a ruler, but I wrote the rows are as straight as a shotgun barrel and long as a bullet can spin. See, this is really great because now I get to do a critical analysis of my own songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right.
That's a treat.
You have a degree in English. You know what I'm talking about.
Dude.
Textual analysis.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So we'll give it a listen here.
My hands are as cracked as an August field that's burned in the sun for 100 years. For furrows so deep you can hide yourself. But I ain't chopping cotton no more this year. I'll just sit on the porch with my eagle eye and watch for a change of wind. The rows are as straight as a shotgun barrel and long as a bullet can spin. You know how hot it gets in Mississippi. You know how dry it gets in the summer sun. The dust clouds swirl all down the delta. I just hope that I don't die, for the harvest comes. Black clouds gathering on the edge of town, but no rain's gonna fall on us. Hoes rise and fall in a distant field. Earth takes a beating for all of us. Thought I heard the angel of death overhead, but it's only the crop dusters playing. Hoes rise and fall like the beating of wings. Lord, send us freedom and rain. You know how hot it gets in Mississippi. You know how dry it gets in the summer sun. The dust clouds swirl all down the delta. I just hope that I don't die, for the harvest comes.
Well, I want to feature hopefully 3 more songs. I want to talk about Why Are the Guns Still Firing?
Yeah.
And when I was choosing songs, this was summer of 2020, and we had, more Black people killed at the hands of police, and it reached this, which has been going on for centuries. But with the evolution of the iPhones and so much more video, it has gotten more and more attention, and there certainly reached a crescendo in the summer of 2020 with George Floyd. And all of this was going on while I was trying to choose songs, and I knew I wanted to choose one of your songs that spoke to some of this. And I loved this song, Why Are the Guns Still Firing? Because it also, again, traces this root of violence way back in our country's history, that this has been going on for centuries. And we have to figure out the term you use, and I quote it on the cover of the CD, is to spike the cannons, spike the guns of hate. And I had to look up that term to understand what it meant. In order to prevent a cannon from firing, you spike the cannon to prevent that shot from going out. And it's a good,
you spike it. You know, Katie, I actually worried about using the phrase because I knew a lot of people wouldn't know what it was. I mean, you literally, to spike a gun, you disable it permanently. So, you know, in the Civil War cannons, you would like pour, I don't know, you jam it full of junk that couldn't be removed. I mean, today you might pour concrete into it just to completely prevent it from functioning in any way. So yeah.
It's such a powerful, and I think obviously a smart image and metaphor to use from someone who has done this community work for decades. Because I think a question that we all have right now is how do you stop hate? You know, how do you stop this violence? And you cannot return violence with violence that only propagates more, and the sins of the fathers that fall on your 7 generations. You know, violence will keep occurring if you meet it with violence. And so this image of disabling the weapon itself is a powerful one, and one that I've spent a good bit of time trying to think about. You know, what does that look like? How do you disengage the weapon and try to you know, basically have the person who is about to fire that weapon understand, you know, and come to a peaceful, come to your side, come to your, stop the firing of the guns. So
yeah, well, there's a couple of things that, you know, one is that the specific incident that I'm not going to say inspired because it's a hard song. Because it's about something horrific that at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's not actually the official name of the church. It's just so established in history that when you say Mother Emanuel, people know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
which was founded back in the time of slavery. In order to be a safe place for African American slaves and some free African Americans to pray. And on this day, people were at prayer. A young white man walked in and I guess pretended to pray with them, and then stood up with an automatic rifle and murdered 9 of them in cold blood. It's unthinkable. It is absolutely unthinkable. And so, you know, I don't know what I was thinking in putting the song together. You know, I dipped back in history, and then the history of Charleston, South Carolina itself, really a town with a very complicated history, as is true of so many southern cities and towns. But that is where the American Civil War starts, when troops from the Confederacy fire on the Federal Fort Sumter, and that's the series of shots that brings about this tragic war that tears the country apart. I'm not going to try to draw any parallels right now, and so there's a lot of imagery about guns. You know, it says 150 years ago, the gunners finally rested. That's the end of the Civil War. But shameless violence betrays us. In Why Are the Guns Still Firing? It says, and it remains for us the living to spike the guns of hate forevermore. It remains for us to living is a direct quote from Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that.
I'm really so glad that you did this song. I think it's.
I am too. You know, Joe Jenks did it first. He recorded it first, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. And that was so recently, and he did a beautiful job. And I was kind of mad about that. I thought, well, Joe took it already, darn it all, and it was recently released. And then I realized, you know, I was just so in such a, you know, we all were in 2020. It was just a really hard time. And then all of a sudden I realized, I know I'm going to do a very stark version that really underlines.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So it's the only one that is really pretty much all electronic on my CD. And it is essentially almost.
Oh my God. You just said the E word.
Yeah. Electronic. I know.
Oh God.
And
Don't tell me.
I know. I actually sang the vocal track first, and then we built it from the vocal.
Really?
So it was really
that's
important.
cool.
You know, I wanted it spaced. I didn't want to have to stick to a metronome. But I had to keep it in tune as well, or the instruments wouldn't go. So I think we put like a note in my, droned a note in my ear, and then
This is the good kind of drone.
Acapella. Yeah.
Along the Battery in Charleston, South Carolina, the ancient silent cannon point to sea. In 1861 they fired on Fort Sumter. The dead and wounded still cry out to you and me. Why are the guns still firing? Why are the innocent laid low? Why is this war still raging? That should have ended long ago. That war was fought in part to put an end to slavery, the nation's shame we never should forget. 150 years ago, the gunners finally rested, but shameless violence betrays us yet. Why are the guns still firing? Why are the innocent laid low? Why is this war still raging? That should have ended long ago. Now 9 new souls are added to the millions who've lost their lives to this uncivil war. And it remains for us, the living, to spike the guns of hate forevermore. Why are the guns still firing? War still raging that should have ended long ago.
Well, one last song I want to feature is Some Sweet Day. And I have more than one song from one of your musicals on this CD, because I was a music theater performer for much of my life, and I love music theater. I love that addressing the audience directly. I write a lot of songs in the second person, I think, because of my music theater background. And so I certainly wanted to include some of your music theater works, but this one particularly, ending, particularly after the starkness of Why Are the Guns Still Firing, to end the CD with something that is more hopeful and uplifting, and had the wonderful Debrisa McKinney, who has sung was on some of my other albums. She sang the harmony. We did this kind of back and forth kind of thing. She's used to coming in and singing that just the harmony. And I said, no, you've got, in fact, you need to sing louder. You're going to take over here, you know. And at the end, we actually have this moment where I finally said, why don't we sing this last part in unison?
Nice. Yeah, very nice.
And it worked. It did.
Because it is about unison. It is about unity.
Coming together. Mm-hmm.
You and I share a love for musical theater. I've never acted in it, thank God. But I do write musicals, right? And I think good political education, you don't even notice that you're learning. You just internalize it. So I try to write those kinds of musicals where you can just enjoy the music and the acting, but there is a message underneath. And the song that we're talking about, it's about a history. I'm trained as a historian, and there's so much history that in this country we never learned. This is about something called the Southern Tenant Farmers Union. We now know it was the first time that Southern African American sharecroppers and tenant farmers and white Southern tenant farmers and sharecroppers got together and formed a union and fought for $1 £100 for picking cotton. It's too bad that it's not better known, because it's a really historic, wonderful struggle. And that's what the musical is about.
We Go On, the title of the CD, is also from that musical, and it was, from what I understand, that was the song that one Black woman tenant farmer and one white woman tenant farmer were sang together after the death of one of their husbands, and I don't know who it was.
Exactly. Actually, after the murder of the white husband.
Right. Yes, of course. I think part of what I kind of want to do with this CD is to try to unite us again around common causes. It's we go on, but how are we going to go on? Are we going to go on separately, or are we going to go on together? And when we talk about we, do we mean just my family, just people who look like me? Or do we mean everyone in this country, people who look very different, people who've come from so many different backgrounds? And I think the way you can get to people's hearts and minds is through stories and songs, and help them to relate to someone else's story and their heart struggles, and make that one of your own, so that we can all go on together. Yeah.
Well, I think, and I think of, if between 1937, which was the Southern Tenant Farmers Union, and today, in some ways, the antidote to Mother Emanuel is Black Lives Matter and the stunning white participation in a Black-led movement. And right here in Charlotte, where we all live, it was touching to see how many young, and not primarily young, and in many cases Southern white people came out in support. And I found it really moving. I mean, as someone who experienced the staggering, violent racism of so many, but not all, Southern whites in the 1960s, I thought it was just inspiring that in Charlotte and in some of these little towns around us that were Klan strongholds, Ku Klux Klan strongholds 30, 40, 50 years ago, you had Black Lives Matter marches that were organized and led by 15-year-old white kids. I find it indescribably touching and moving. And I am an optimist. I'm a realist. I do think that the surge in white nationalism and white supremacy and anti-Semitism and racism and anti-immigrant feeling and the unbelievable violence, did I ever think in my life I would see an armed white nationalist mob invade the United States Capitol? Yeah, we're in one of those times when light and darkness are struggling. And I do believe
critical that we stand up for each other. Yes,
absolutely, and I do believe that, as in so many periods of history, that yes, we will prevail. It is just true that the Southern Tenant Farmers Union won its victory against the Klan, against the planters, against the plantation owners, against the violence, and they eventually won $1 100 pounds for picking cotton when the price had been 20 cents 100 pounds, and when it was produced by in Nashville, with the Tennessee Repertory Theater, founded and directed by my wonderful friend Mac Perkle, who taught me what I know about musical theater. As the strike approaches, the cast of 20 leaves the stage and circulates through the audience with a reproduction of the actual strike leaflet.
Oh, wow.
From 1937. And they approach people in their seats and they say, take this, don't go into the fields tomorrow, don't go into the fields and pick cotton, right? And they're black and they're white. The cast of 20 was half African-American and half white.
Nice. And one of the things that happened on the CD that I love is Matthew Fleming choosing the old Union literature to model the graphics on the CD.
Yes. But the lesson is, no, this is not, as so many people say, the worst time in the history of this country. It's one of the best times in the history of this country. It is so far. I mean, we go back to the, how, yes, there's, police killings of African Americans. 1,000 African Americans used to be lynched every year. Yeah. You had a lot of songs to choose from, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I love about your choice is, you made an album for this moment. It doesn't skimp on the violence, on the hatred, but it's got love songs. It's got songs of, we got together and we did it. It's got songs that are hopeful. So thank you.
Just like ships that sail out on the water, driven by the waves far from their way, we are separated from each other, but we'll come together some sweet day. Some sweet day we'll smile at each other when the chains that hold us fall away. We will hold our hands out to each other. We will come together some sweet day.
Thank you so much, Cy. This has really been wonderful talking with you about the CD, and it was a great project to work on, to collaborate with you on. Even all the emails we sent back and forth and clarifications of lyrics or of your intent, and so now to get to have this conversation with you about these songs. And
and I learned so much about all of this. Right.
Good. Yeah.
Well, so you're going to play one song to take us home?
Yeah, I'm going to play "Daddy, Don't You Tell No Lies" to end us out, because I think it's just, I love again that humor.
Yeah.
You're taking this idea
Yeah,
that
thank you.
people think it was better in the good old days. Well,
Well,
let me show you all the ways that was really not true. And with your tongue in cheek, and it's a fun, upbeat song, very sassy, and an appropriate ending to our conversation.
Well, thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much.
So, hey, so just in case anybody tuned in late, that's Katie Oates.
That's right. With the new CD that, again, you can buy from directly from me, from my website, katieoates.com. So, yeah, thank you.
All right. All of you out there, take care, be well, stand up. Don't let anybody push you around. Don't let anybody push anybody else around, It's that kind of unity that makes a difference. And never, never, never doubt that what we do makes a difference. It does. Not always in the immediate moment, but it never fails. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we lose. But if you look at what life was like, let's say in 1950, what life was like, not just for African Americans, what life was like for women, what life was like for LGBTQ people, what life was like for poor people. We've come one hell of a long way. We've come one hell of a long way. If you look at the pictures of the United States Congress, they're like, wow, where did they find so many white men in suits? That's all they've got, right? Look at it now. Look at how many women are there. Look at how many people of color. We have achieved a peaceful, radical transformation of our country.
Thank you, Cy. That's
Thank you, Katie.
An important, encouraging message for all of us. I appreciate it.
Blackberries big as baseballs, peanuts round as your arm, peaches big as watermelons, growing on that Georgia farm. Rows of yellow sweet corn, shining in the morning light. Plant 'em Monday morning, eat 'em by Friday night. Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the old time ways. Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the good old days. Nobody got in trouble, nobody got in fights, weren't no drinking whiskey, weren't no staying out all night. Everybody worked like horses, never stopped to take a rest. Everybody had religion, everybody did their best. Whoa, Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the old time ways. Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the good old days. Everybody was a neighbor, every neighbor was a friend. Children listened to their parents, women listened to their men. Weren't no agitators stirring up the countryside. Everybody knew their places, everyone was satisfied. Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the old time ways. Whoa, Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the good old days. Oh, now, Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the old time ways. Woo! Daddy, don't you tell no lies, talking about the good old days. Well, now, talking about the good old, talking about the good
Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate your time and attention. I also really appreciate all of the folks who worked on this CD. Of course, Kahn, my friend and mentor who wrote these beautiful songs. Chris Rosser, who played instruments and even had a harmony vocal on one of the songs. And he, of course, is the recording engineer, helped me produce. Parker Foley, who plays bass and acoustic bass, who also helped me work up these songs and produce them in the studio. Debrisa McKinney, who sings beautiful harmony vocals. Tom Hanchett, who did the fiddle for a couple of songs. Thanks to, of course, Chris for recording, but also to Robert George. We did a number of songs live in his Sound Temple studios, and he contributes much wonderful work in that recording. Also to Artmenius for his radio promotion, to Matthew Fleming for the CD design. We had to go through several options, and he came up with a beautiful design that incorporates union tags into the graphics, which ties back so wonderfully to Cy's career of organizing unions, as well as some of the themes in the songs. So thank you, Matthew. And of course, thank you to Alexis and Eleven and all the folks at Charlotte Star Room. They put in so much work in recording videos and helping me edit and promotions. I just can't thank everyone enough for that, because they make me look good. Thank you again to everyone who made this CD possible. Also, thank you so much to you for watching, and thank you for your support.